Hi, everyone, and welcome to the introduction of positive psychology. Uh, so, hopefully, you've had a moment to watch Martin Seligman talking about this field that he was, well, let's be honest, the founding father of, called positive psychology. So, make sure you take a moment to review what his goals and intent and things um, are for positive psychology. Um, I am going to move on and talk a little bit about it from a different, I'm not Martin Seligman perspective. One of the big goals of positive psychology is to help us to understand human strengths and help to build human strengths. As we all know, psychology has spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to remedy negative things, how to help people to recover from trauma, help a person to recover from a bad childhood of maybe with some ACEs included, right? Adverse childhood experiences and those kinds of things. How to repair depression or anxiety or things that diminish our flourishing. Positive psychology, on the other hand, argues if we can focus on those factors that contribute to positive outcomes, that contribute to strength and resilience, that maybe we can have more human flourishing. Maybe we can avoid some of the negatives by focusing on the positives within each of us. So, one big goal of positive psychology is to help people to thrive, to help them to live their best lives. There's a big focus in positive psychology on human freedom, which sounds great, but there are some tricks to it, right? The idea with human freedom is that, people can choose their own life's direction. They can change their life's direction. Even if you're on a particular path or trajectory, you can still change that path or trajectory. And that we can have control over our own life's direction. So we have freedom to determine our own outcomes. The ancillary to this basic principle is the idea that it's worth your while to exert effort. That if you try and if you put effort into attempting to reach your goals, that ultimately that effort will pay off. There's some tricks to this, right? Some of you may already be thinking some skeptical thoughts as you're thinking, can I choose my own life's direction? Once I'm on a particular path, can I change it? Do I have control over my own life's outcomes? Are my efforts always worthwhile? You might already be having some questions, and those are important questions to have as you're going through this class. These are the basic principles of positive psychology. I think you need to keep your skepticism intact as you're going through and thinking to yourself, there might be some limitations to some of the claims that positive psychologists have made. One of the big factors in our freedom is freedom of choice. So one big premise in positive psychology is that we would be happier if we had more choice. If we get to choose our outcomes, if we get to choose from a wide variety of options, we're going to be happier because we got to make a choice. Think back to being a child and you might have had adults who offered you two things to choose from and you got to choose something. And the principle is that you'll be happier as especially a 2-year-old or 3-year-old. You're going to be happier because you got to choose. Even if the two choices were very limited and completely under the control of the person who allowed you to choose, you'll feel better about it because you got to choose. And that's probably true. Being able to choose from a limited array, that probably does make us happier. But does having all these toothpastes to choose from, does this actually make us happier? Does it? I mean, most of them are even Colgate. Colgate has, 10 different options before we even see any other brand. That's a lot of choice. Is that an advantage? Is it better to go through all these different options? Well, Costco's model says no, it is not better to go through all those different options. Here is the type of toothpaste you can buy if you shop at Costco. I think they also have like Sensodyne too. So, I mean, I think there's more than one to choose from, but it's limited. There's a limited choice. And for a lot of people, we confess by joining Costco that, you know what, I don't want to have infinite choice. I want to have the thing I want to get. And I want to walk in there and grab the toothpaste, not pick the toothpaste. I want to grab the toothpaste and go home, and I will have my 3 tubes of it or 4 tubes of it that are going to take me a year or more to complete. And I just know I always have this toothpaste, right? I don't have to decide. So is it always better to choose? Probably not. It's probably not better in every circumstance to have the ability to choose, or maybe if we like a little bit of ability, maybe the infinite ability to choose. A lot of people who move to the US are overwhelmed by the amount of choices that we have in deodorants and toothpastes and even brands of milk and just all the things that we have. Cereal. Have you looked at the cereal aisle? There are so many choices, and a lot of them are very similar. And so you have to really think which of these. There are so many choices in granola. Just granola. Just talk about granola. The kind of granola that doesn't come in a box but comes in a plastic bag. Just that granola. There's probably 20 choices in your average supermarket. That's a lot, and it can be overwhelming. And so what do people tend to do? They make a choice and then they stick with it forever. They go, that's it. I'm not looking at the rest of these. I'm sticking with it until, oh my gosh, I came to the store and my brand wasn't here anymore. Oh, I'm going to have to choose a new brand. It's kind of traumatic when you have to pick a new brand after you've gone through 10 different variations of Colgate and finally picked the one that you want, and now they discontinued it. It can be a struggle. And so we like some choice. We do not like all the choices. It's probably too much. It's actually can engender some anxiety to have too many choices. There's a lawn care YouTube channel that I watch called Flawless Cleaning. And he started off kind of power washing most of the time. And then he started doing like a little bit of sort of neatening up people's yards. And now he's doing really big things. But anyway, one of the things that I noticed is that there are really, for sure, 2 different kinds of fences that you can have on your yard in Britain. And one of them is like a panel that's made up of what we in the US would call clapboards, because the pieces of wood are horizontal and they kind of overlap each other a little bit, like a clapboard on a house does. And what's amazing about that is, because they only have these 2 choices in fencing, is that when they go to a house and their fence is broken, they can go down to the local home improvement store and get a new panel. Can you always do that in the US? No, you cannot. They may have changed it a little bit, or discontinued that, or made it a slightly different color, or discovered that they could save a couple pennies by making it slightly thinner, and so now they no longer fit together. We have so many choices that one of the things that happens is that now we become dependent on those choices, and if the choice changes, we may be out. We may have to buy a whole new fence. We may have to redo the whole thing. We may have to make a whole new decision because we're starting from ground zero. So having too many choices, not only at the moment might be kind of stressful, but it may be stressful down the road when we have, we're thrust into having to make a new choice. So choice is not always great. In fact, I have a little video that I would like you to watch about, I forgot. I'm going to do your autonomy test first. I forgot. So one of the things we're going to be doing as we go through this class is incorporating some of the self-tests that are in the PDF version of the textbook that I shared with you. And there is one that is tapping into this issue, which is autonomy. When we say that we like choice, what we're really saying is that we want to have our own autonomy. We want auto means self, right? Omi means control. So we've got control over ourself. And so we, starting when we were 2, we wanted to make a choice for what to have for breakfast or which of these shoes to wear. We want to have choices. We want to assert our autonomy, that we have this belief that we are choosing to behave in this way or that way, or to use this product or that product. So one of the things that we can do to explore this issue is to complete the autonomy scale that's on page 7 of our PDF. And just to give you a little hint, when you open your PDF, your reader will have, mine's over here on the lower right. It has a little box where you can type the number in, and that'll take you right to the page. So I've got the autonomy scale open. It's not very big. You can do it along with me. You can complete it in the PDF and write on it, however you want to do it. But on these, you're supposed to think about how each of these statements relates to your life and then indicate how true it is for you. And you're going to use this Likert type scale that goes from 1, not true at all, to 7, very true. The 4 is a true neutral. So it's sort of like, well, it's not true or untrue. It's somewhat true. And then you've got the 2, 3, and the 4, 5, 6 that you can use as at will. So feel free to use those as you wish. And so in this scale, we're tapping into how much you feel a sense of autonomy. So you can go ahead and look at it on the screen and pause me if you want to complete it from the screen, or you can go ahead and open up your PDF and complete it there. The nice thing about these scales in this workbook that I like to use this workbook because you kind of can go through your own process. It tells you how to score the scale. So don't look at that until you have completed the scale. It's always best to take it kind of blind, just sort of take it as it looks, and then scroll down a little bit and you'll see how to go through the book. Through the scoring process. And it's kind of nice because on the end of this page, it's only warning you about how scales are scored in this book. And then the true process for scoring is down below. And I don't want to ruin it for you if you haven't looked at the scale yet. So you complete the scale, follow the instructions for how to score it, and then hopefully it'll give you a little bit of an insight into your autonomy orientation. We do vary on this. Not everybody has the same degree of wanting self-control. Some of us really like to have some just sort of follow the directions parts to our lives where we sort of just check the boxes, do what we're told, and get it done. Other times in other situations and on other topics, perhaps we're very controlling and we very much want to express our own desires and our own wishes. And so within a person, there's a lot of variety across situations and time and other kinds of things. And then between people, we vary on this trait. This is a very important thing to know about this whole process as we go through it this quarter, is that there are no right answers to these scales, right? These are just giving you self-reflections on you and your natural tendencies. The other thing I want to say about these scales is that they typically are designed to be used in research. They're not intended to give you self-reflection, really. The purpose of these scales is, for example, I could administer this scale and then I could maybe sort participants into people who are high in the need for autonomy, people who are low in the need for autonomy, and people who are sort of in the middle, which would be probably most people. So I could kind of make 3 groups out of my participants based on this scale. And then I could see whether people who are high on autonomy score differently on something else than people who are low on autonomy. That's what these are designed for, really, is to be used for research. I'm telling you this because first, it's good for you to know how research is done. But second off, it's important for you to manage your expectations about the insights that you may or may not get from completing these scales. You may be like, I don't think I needed to complete these 7 answers to tell you that this is my orientation towards autonomy. So that's not uncommon with any kind of psychological scale, that you might just sort of be like, I already knew this. So don't expect big earth-shattering revelations about yourself as you complete these scales. But some of these scales are things that you haven't really thought about before. And so it is useful to complete a scale so that you sort of see where you are without having really ever known that this was a thing to know that you had an attitude about. So that's why I think it can be really useful. So hopefully you'll take the autonomy scale just to kind of, put a number to your sense of autonomy and how much you feel like you are in charge of your own destiny and your own outcomes. I think it'll be useful for you. So I'm going to stop here because the next thing in our playlist is actually not preloading for us here, but it's a TED Talk on the paradox of choice. So I'll stop talking here and I'll let you watch that TED Talk next.